Hey, Life Designers. Welcome to this week's episode of the vlog where we are going to be talking about what I like to call the problem with now. Now, don't get me wrong, I am as big a fan of living in the moment as anyone. At the same time, I recognize and I appreciate that too much of a good thing is still too much. It's true. Oftentimes, people come to the Design Center with an overemphasis of the past or the future, and for these folks, the notion of living more in the now and living more in the moment is definitely a good thing. At the same time, there is a shadow side to living with the now and living in the moment and overemphasizing that. So if this sounds at all exciting to you, then stay tuned because we are going to get into it right now. So there's really two flavors of this kind of shadow side of living in the now. The first one has to deal with the balancing of the short term and the long term cost benefit. And I really do think that we suffer, as humans, we suffer from a faulty wiring when it comes down to our ability to take what we know to be the right answer in the long term and actually act on that. It is just too easy and too much of our default tendency to act in our best interest in the short term, whether that be trying to seek pleasure in the short term or trying to avoid what we think is going to be some discomfort in the short term, and we favor those over what we know to be beneficial in the long term. And this is a real problem, and I don't know why we're not better at it, but we're not. A great example of this, the classic example, is just almost cliche at the Life Design Center of people who are striving for work-life balance. And what we find are there are people who are overemphasizing their work, and they're doing that because they're getting a lot of immediate benefits in their work environment, whether it be through compensation or whether it be through recognition and accolades from their peers and reinforcement. And some people just have a real thrill from the work that they're doing. But they're doing all of this at the expense of their long-term relationships. And this is, again, like I said, a very common, almost cliche type of problem that people come to the Life Design Center with. And what's really going on here is that we're taking those relationships for granted in the sense that we just assume that they're always going to be there, they're always going to be intact. And, even though we know we're doing damage to them, the damage and the ramifications of that damage are far off into the future, whereas the rewards and the incentives are here in the now. So this is a real problem. And like I said, I think it is a faulty wiring in our software that we're running on our brain. I think it's a bug, basically. So to me, the only way to overcome this problem is to actually take a step back, look at your life, and figure out where you're doing this, first of all, but then choose an action or an activity that you know is going to benefit you in the long run. To switch it over to a different realm, the health category. So you know that working out at least 3-4 times a week, getting exercise, is going to benefit you in the long run, even though in the short run, in the near term, it's going to be painful perhaps and inconvenient. So you have to kind of identify the activity that you know is going to be beneficial, and then you have to really stick to it. You just have to create a plan, and you just have to force yourself to do it. Hopefully there's some ways that you can add some positive incentives in the short term to try to make that short term activity more palatable. Those are always good ideas. If you can link it to some kind of reward system. I think I've mentioned in the past that I like to read audiobooks, listen to audiobooks when I work out. So for me, that's kind of a reward. I get to listen to the audiobook when I'm working out. So I've linked that maybe less desirable behavior of working out to a positive reinforcement. Another way to support yourself in this area is to get accountability partners. So if you can have somebody, a collaborator who can help to hold you accountable, that's a powerful way to do one of these activities that you really that you know and believe to be beneficial in the long run. But the key here is you really have to be explicit about your approach, because if you don't, your natural instincts will be to favor the short term, and that will of course cause your long term interests to suffer. So that's the first way of looking at this kind of shadow side of the now. The second way to look at the shadow side of now is what I call results right now. And this is really a byproduct of the accessibility of information, and really the advancements in technology have really created a sense of immediacy that we have in many ways become addicted to. I remember back when I first started my career with a consulting firm at Anderson Consulting, they had this program, or this kind of benefit, that if you typed in a question and sent it off to the library, within a day or two, somebody would do a bunch of research for you and they would send you back an answer to your question. And at the time, I thought that was miraculous. I mean, I didn't have to go to the library myself. Somebody would actually do this for me. I thought it was incredible. But it took 24 to 48 hours. And now to think about that would be absurd. Nowadays, if I can't find the answer in 10 seconds, I'm incredibly annoyed. So, this whole notion of results right now is a real problem in our lives, and it shows up in many different ways. And one of the ways that in my own life is probably the most troublesome is with regards to my finances and my tendency to impulse purchase. Marketers are really good at making you think that you need something right now, and they're also good at using the scarcity to reinforce the now piece of it. So, they're not only good at convincing you that you need their thing, but they're good at convincing you that if you don't act now, you'll never get it. And I am a big victim of this. So one of the techniques that I've used, because I've noticed this about myself, is an idea that I got from the Minimalist podcast. And if you've never checked that out, I definitely recommend you check out their podcast. It's quite good. They recommend a 30-day purchase policy, where if there's something that you want to buy that's over a certain dollar amount, you have to wait 30 days before you allow yourself to buy it. And I think that's pretty cool. You set the dollar amount however it makes sense to you. I have found that is a really good policy for me to implement in my own life, because 24 hours later, oftentimes I don't want the thing as much as I did 24 hours earlier. So as a result, I don't buy some new item that I ultimately don't need. So my encouragement to you is to look at areas of your life where you feel compelled to have results right now, and that could be information, that could be in a relationship, that could be establishing a hierarchy in that relationship or a position of superiority right now. The results right now phenomenon can show up anywhere. Perhaps you're attracted to gadgets and you're always looking for the next way to get fit quick, or if you're looking for a fast path to enlightenment. There's a million ways the results right now phenomenon shows up in our life. Just be on the lookout for those, and when you find one that you are susceptible to, devise a strategy around that. So that's what this week's lesson is all about, and hopefully you found this useful. If you want to go a little bit deeper with this, there's a downloadable worksheet that you can grab, and that will give you a bunch of ideas for how both the long short-term phenomenon and the results right now phenomenon might show up in your daily life. So go ahead and grab that downloadable worksheet. And if you want to just take a big step back, I definitely recommend, if you haven't done so already, check out the Life Design Jumpstart Kit. It's a free package that you can download off the Life Design Center website, and it will really help you to take a big step back and look at your life system in total, figure out what's going well, what might need some additional care and feeding, and then you can apply these principles even more discreetly when you kind of get an assessment of your overall life design status. You can then say, okay, well, where am I falling prey to the right now versus the long and short term phenomenon. So either of these resources are available to you totally free. Just follow the links below in the blog write-up. So with that, I'm going to thank you for spending some time with me this week. I always appreciate your time and your attention, and I hope that one day our paths will cross. And until that day, I wish you a prosperous journey. Take care.